Hi guys, welcome here. If you're new here, my name's Bethany. I'm the girl behind Well Love Knits, and today we're going to be doing a knit and chat. I don't have my questions. We're going to be doing a knit and chat. I have my questions on a piece of paper. We're going old school today. Don't ask me why, don't ask me how. I just wrote them down on a piece of paper. And we're going to go through these while I work on a project that is in this knitting bag right here. One that I made myself, actually. If you haven't seen, I shared the process on YouTube on a video, so definitely go check that out if you are interested in making one for yourself. I mean, I wouldn't say that it's... You kind of have to know what you're doing sewing-wise, I think, to be able to follow that video, but I'm really not in any place to be teaching someone really how to sew. So that was the only way I could really film the video, and I'm really proud with how it came out. I think it looks really good. And it houses a lot of projects. There are 2 whips in here, and there could be more, because as you can see, it's not all the way full. Really love this one. So I'm going to be working on my Musso, which is a pattern by Espace Tricot, a circular knit pattern. The only downside about keeping projects in, or multiple projects in one bag, is that they get kind of tangled up, but that's okay. My Musso. So I haven't really been working on this one all that much since I shared it with you guys in a knitting podcast where I went into more detail about my whips. So yeah, since then, no progress really, but I will still show off the yoke because I still think it is pretty nice to look at. It is kind of a tangled mess though. Yeah, very fall. I'm very excited about this one. The colors are just so beautiful. I'm really happy that I discovered this combination of yarn. So the Musso is a circular knit pattern that's very similar to Petite Knit's a circle neck cumulus blouse, which is a mohair pattern. So I'm knitting with mohair and Surrey alpaca. It's my first time using Surrey alpaca, and I'm very pleased with this one in particular because I really love the colorway, but then also just the feeling of it. I really like it. For me, as a mom of a almost 1-year-old baby, not really the most practical fiber. I feel like I haven't really been interested in purchasing a lot of mohair, a lot of Surrey alpaca even. I've wanted to give it a try, which is why I actually purchased this this Surrey alpaca from Big Little Yarn Co. I really love all of the colorways that she produces, and I wanted to try one of the colorways in a fiber that I've never worked with before, so Surrey alpaca it is, or it was. And here they are together. So this is Big Little Yarn Co. Surrey alpaca, and this little monstrosity is Filcolana mohair. And it's like a gold colorway. I think they look so nice. Hopefully the lighting is good. I think this is a decent time of day for true color match. Yeah, that looks pretty good. I really like it. So it's been working up really nicely into this dreamy, fluffy, circular yoke sweater. And I have been really enjoying knitting circular yokes, or knitting this circular yoke. It's a lot of fun to do the increases, and this is something that I realized after knitting the ranunculus, which is what I'm wearing, my first version of the ranunculus pattern. And I noticed when I was working up this pattern how much I really loved working a circular yoke. I just thought it was nice every once in a while to do increases, but then in between you were just doing, well, in this case, a lace pattern, but here it's just a couple of rounds of stockinette. You just knit and then measure later. I've only worked a couple of them, the ranunculus being one of them. That was the more complex circular yoke. And then I did, I guess it still counts. The Novice cardigan by Petite Knit is a circular yoke, but it's a cardigan, so it's worked back and forth. So not quite the knitting in the round experience, but same concept. Okay, I think I've detangled myself enough. And I think I've given these 2 yarns their due, what's due to them. And then the yoke one more time, because you're probably not going to see it while I'm knitting. I'll be honest. But it's really cool. I mean, this is my first time going with variegated yarn also for a garment, I think. I'm almost positive on that one. I'm the type of person that loves the look of variegated yarn in skein form. I am nervous to commit to a variegated yarn because I'm just not sure what it's going to look like as the final product. And that's something really huge for me. I kind of like knowing what is going to be produced, which is why I go for a lot of solid colors. But here, I was thinking, live a little, try something new, not just fiber-wise, but then also color-wise. And I'm not disappointed in the slightest. I think this is actually really cool because I'm not color managing. It's doing like this cool little striped thing. I'm just excited. I think the stripes are just going to get bigger and bigger. I think. Because that's kind of how it started. It started with like thin stripes and now it's getting a little bit thicker. We'll just see how it goes. I mean, I'm going with the flow here, just letting the yarn take me on a journey. So, we are feeling chatty today. I'm very happy to be able to be sitting down with you guys and getting some rows in and chatting a little bit because we haven't done a knit and chat in a while. So I asked you guys over on Instagram, since I had some time, what kind of questions you had for me. And some of them were great video ideas, which I'll save for another time. But some were related to the topic of last week's video, which was kind of funny. So this is kind of like a part 2, let's say, or it's definitely related. In my opinion, it's some of these could be related. So last week, I showed you guys my very first finished object sweater project that I did many years ago. And I looked at it in the eyes of what I can do now, and I compared it to a project that I recently cast off. So a project that I cast off years ago, and then one that I probably cast off a month ago or so. This one was really related, so it was funny. When you look at where you are now in your knitting journey, what is most surprising to you? So I briefly touched on it, I feel like, when I was doing that last video. I don't think that point really hit home though, because the thing that is most surprising to me is how basic and how little I know about knitting still. I feel like this is definitely just for me though. I feel like people have been knitting less than me and know so much more than I do. It's really just about how much you want to immerse yourself into the craft and then also just continue with each piece to go further and challenge yourself to try things that are a little bit more complex. I don't think that I'm an example that's, everybody, you have to have X amount of years before you dive into color work, for example, something that I haven't done. Really, I have done it, but to the extent in which I thought that I would be at, I am not. So I think if you would have asked me when I started knitting again, what I would be able to do now, like today, 4 years, almost 5 years later, I think that I would have told you that I would be able to knit those really complex color work, and I probably would have finished one of those complex color work. I can't think of the designer, but she's very well known. I think she's Irish. I'm not 100% sure, but she does these really intricate colorwork projects, and I feel like I would have thought that I would be able to tackle one of those. I don't know how fast I would think that I was. Let's just say, it would take me a year. I would have the experience to do it and the patience to do a year-long project with that kind of colorwork. I think that's what surprises me the most, is that I haven't really done those kind of really intense projects that I feel like kind of need to go into your checklist, let's say. The thing, I've done cables, but not very complex cables. I've done texture, but not a lot of complex texture, So I just feel like I think that I would do, just a little bit more complex, more scary looking things. That I haven't, and it's not because I'm scared to do it necessarily. I think I'm just lazy because I think when I first started, I wanted to produce a certain look, a certain project. It's not laziness. That's not fair. I think it's more just what my style gravitates towards. That's like the whole, mission statement of Well Loved Knits is to make what you love. Like, that is really important to me, to make things that I know that I'm going to wear. And I just don't really gravitate towards a lot of those really intricate designs most of the time. They're just not my style. So I think my knitting style is definitely matches the style that I have on a day-to-day basis. What I would shop for in the store is what I normally shop for when it comes to knitting patterns. I am branching out though, so I think it's not due to boredom necessarily, but I think I have reached a point where I want to knit the things that I know that I really like. I like clean. I don't know. This was also another deviation from that. Yeah, but that's an example too, because like recently I've just decided that I'm kind of breaking away from my typical style. Maybe my style is evolving and knitting is helping me do that, because yeah, for a while it was my style that was dictating what I was going to be knitting, but now it's more like my knitting is dictating what my style is a little bit. So the projects that I'm interested in making now are more related to the actual process itself than it is the finished object. It is definitely a balance between the two, but I do see myself leaning a little bit more towards what do I want to not necessarily learn, because I haven't really taken on projects that I'm learning a lot from, or at least nothing that's very obvious in your face, like I'm learning to steek or something like that. I'm not that kind of thing, but you learn something with every project, I think. And but here I am leaning a little bit more into the process. Because I have worked on a lot of projects, maybe not as much as some, but I still have quite a bit in my portfolio, I would say. I think I'm starting to slowly come to the realization that I don't need to mass produce projects. I need to take time and make it properly, like take my time to make sure that it's done well and do those finishes like I was mentioning last week with the different things that I'm willing to take on. The Italian bind off, for example, that's my finishing, is slowing down and making sure those little details are present there. It's nice that I'm evolving in that way, but it did take me a while. But 4 years is really just a small drop in the grand scheme of things, It's really not that much time. Sometimes it feels like that's a long time, but it's really not that much, because I know a lot of you have been knitting for many years, decades even. So there's plenty of time, is what I'm trying to say. So I think that would be what's most shocking to me, but I am turning a corner, I think. And it's really interesting to see that, how it's just not abruptly happened, but in the last year or so, with Arthur, I think with the baby knits too, it definitely shifted my priority a little bit. Having a baby and then also preparing for a baby, those two things, as it relates to knitting, changed my mindset for crafting. It also changed my mindset personally too. I'm not gonna lie about that. Taking everything slow, I think. So that's just my new perspective on the craft. I hope that was clear. That felt like a little bit of a ramble. But yeah, I think it made sense. Okay, what's the next one? So then the other question, there was a couple like this, and I get this one a lot. Like, how did you have the confidence to start documenting your knitting journey? And then do you have any advice or tips for somebody who wants to start doing so? And I think I've kind of touched on this topic before, but for me, like the confidence piece, I don't know, I just wanted to do it a long time ago. I've grown up watching YouTube. How old was I? Like 13 maybe when it sprouted. I think YouTube started in 2007. So I was around like 13 or something like that. So YouTube has been in my life for a long time. And I used to always want to have a YouTube channel. I just never knew what I wanted to share. The funny thing is that I gained a lot of experience in my real world job in my communications degree. So I'm a communications graduate major. And I learned how to edit videos, and I did that a lot in my full-time job. Edit videos. And if you would have asked me if I would be comfortable in front of the camera, I probably, like in college, I would have been like, oh my gosh, no, I'm very introverted. I can't do that. And actually the video editing part, I think I did the worst in because I was a huge writer at the time. I liked writing, and but it wasn't until I had graduated, got the job that I used video editing for, and then I was on camera all the time, making videos for internal communications, which was a lot of fun. But there I got my confidence, I think, to be in front of a camera because I was doing it for work. I didn't really care because work was just so different. Like my coworkers seeing me doing something, okay, yeah, whatever. It was my job. I had to do it, It wasn't like embarrassing. And I think I just kind of got over those feelings of embarrassment maybe that some people might feel after doing it for my job. It really didn't matter if my friends saw me do this either, So there's the camera talking aspect. But just to share your craft and the things that you're doing, I think you shouldn't be embarrassed. I said this last week, you're making something with your own two hands. You should be proud of that, and it is amazing. It's an amazing feat, and not many people actually do it. In the knitting community, it seems like everybody can do it because they can, because they're part of this knitting hobby. But I think you'll find that everyone in the knitting community that likes to watch podcasts is always looking for somebody new to watch. So just start sharing. I know that's easy to say, and Instagram's definitely a great way to start because that's how I started sharing, because I really like taking photos and sharing those in the grid format. It's a little bit different now because mainly video is a huge part of it, but if you like that sort of thing, just go for it and do it. And, do it for you. To document your journey would be probably the best way to start instead of trying to, I guess, gain a lot of followers all at once, because that's not what it's all about. And I think people will know if you're trying to gain an audience versus trying to just share something that you're passionate about. So lead with your passion in terms of knitting, and I think people will organically flock to that kind of content. They'll be really interested to see what you have to do. I don't know. You'll just... I'm trying to be inspirational, and I have no words. That's it. That's my advice. Okay. Talk about the pressure to knit popular patterns. See, the thing is, I was talking about this with the ranunculus. When a pattern gets to a point where it's so popular, I'm the type of person to be like, I'm not gonna knit that because everybody else is knitting that. So what I can definitely relate to is knitting patterns from the same designer over and over again. They are popular because of the name recognition, but then also just the style of the pattern. Popular patterns, I feel like, not always, but a lot of the ones that I personally gravitate towards are very simple, staple pieces that really mimic things that you can buy in the store. Those are the ones that I find to be the most successful, and the ones that, I want to knit, and I get kind of quote unquote pressured into knitting. I think the thing that's been helping me lately is just reminding myself, because I haven't been casting on things a lot, just reminding myself, girl, you do not have enough time. You only have the capacity to work on maybe 3 projects at once, and even still, I'm more of a monogamous knitter, even still. So, I don't really feel that pressure anymore, but I definitely have in the past. I don't really see there being anything wrong about popular patterns that has spread influence, like the Ingrid sweater. That was a pattern that I looked at and it blew up, and I have no idea why. I mean, it's a beautiful pattern, But I still, even for the adult size, the baby size is so cute. But the adult size, I never looked at it like, I want to make this. I'm influenced to make it a little bit because I've seen it everywhere. And it is true that the pattern is a lot of fun to knit. At least the baby size is, because of the different stitches and things. It's really interesting and a lot of fun. But it's just not my style. But I feel like if I decided to cast it on, I would wear it a lot. I don't really know how to answer this one. I don't really know like what position I want to take, because I do think that there's nothing wrong with a pattern like that. If a lot of people like it and a lot of people knit it, I think that's great. Because even still, if you got into knitting for the unique aspect, anything that you create is very unique in comparison to what the other person creates. Even if you're creating the same pattern, you have your own personalized take on it. You have a different color palette, maybe. You add a little mistake in there. You can alter the pattern to what fits you best, make it cropped or make it longer, or shorten the sleeves, change the neckline. You can do a lot of things that make it unique to you. So I don't think that there's anything wrong with that per se. And I'm also not really anti-big designers either. I know I do want to support small designers too, and I've tried to do that in the past, and I'm also taking a personal step back away from Petite Knit, just because I know I knit all of her patterns all the time. I'm kind of sleepwalking when it comes to her patterns. I just know what to expect with her, you know? I just feel like I know how she writes her patterns, and that's very comforting. But it is also important, I feel like, to experience other writing styles, other designers just in general. So I am also taking a little bit of a step back, not saying that I would never knit a pattern of hers again, and I have quite a few that I really like that new cardigan pattern that came out is really cute. She also has this storm sweater that I just saw a picture of her and her dad in, which is very similar to the Ingrid sweater, so I will not be knitting it up, but I do think that that's also going to be a very popular pattern as well, just because it has a similar vibe to the Ingrid sweater. Yeah, I mean, I know I talk about Petite Knit a lot, but she's like the only example that I really feel like I can give here. I think it's great. Popular patterns are good. There's nothing wrong with it. And I think that even if everybody knit the same pattern, like the ranunculus, there's so many different ways that you can take that pattern. And I feel like it's kind of cool to have those like patterns that everybody knows about, everybody's made, and we all have like a shared experience. I actually think that's pretty cool. It kind of connects you in a way, like me joining the Ranunculus Club. I feel like I'm connected a little bit to other knitters that I have been watching for a really long time that also have a Ranunculus too. When they wear theirs, I'm like, hey, I have one of those. I made one of those. Or if somebody is making a pattern that I made, hey, I made that. It's cool. Okay, we are going to cut it off after this next question. So finally, needle preference. Do you have a needle preference based on size? They said that they don't like their 5mm Chaogu needles, if I remember correctly. I wrote this in shorthand, so it's not the complete question. Funny that you bring that up, because I actually have noticed that I don't like wooden needles under a certain size. I really like I'm using my C knits. So these are a bamboo needle, which previously I said I did not like bamboo. And previously I did not. This brand of bamboo feels completely different from any of the other bamboo needles that I've ever tried. Not saying that I tried a lot, but I had a really bad experience with one, and that put me off until now. So seeing what C-Knit is all about, I really like this bamboo needle because it slides really nicely. This is a 5mm needle, and this is 4-inch tips. So I also have 5-inch tips in the Lucca needles, which is my previous favorite wooden needle. I still really like it, but I definitely think the C-Knits are a lot better. These just fit in my hand a little bit nicer, but since they are 4-inch tips, when I go down a needle size to, I think it goes down to 2.75 millimeter, if I'm not mistaken, the kit that I have, or the set that I have, I don't like it because they're short and the needles are tiny, so it cramps my hands. So I definitely prefer a 5-inch tip for smaller needles, but then I prefer my ChiaoGus. So I have connected ChiaoGus. What is that? There's another word for that. The needles that are on my red lace ones, so they're not interchangeable, they're something else. And I really like those for like 2.5 and up to 3.5 millimeter needle. I prefer those just because, well, they're 5-inch, so it's better, I think, grip-wise on the smaller needles, but then also something about the metal I just find is a nicer experience. Maybe more controlled, but then also a nice slippery feeling too. You know, like the stitches slip off quite nicely, but it's also feeling a little bit more controlled than these bamboo ones do. Because I feel like it's, for me, it's the wooden needles from Lucca. Those are really grippy. Then I have my ChiaoGus, which are grippy, but then also have a nice slip to them. And then it's these bamboo C-knits. Those are ultra slippery, but I feel like on a larger size, it's more controlled than on a smaller size. Like right now, I've been having a really great time working with mohair on these C-knits, the 5 millimeter, because it just glides so nicely in comparison to if I was working with the Lucca needles. I just feel like there would be some resistance there. And I used to really like that. It really helps me with my tension, but I think that that's why I was having wrist problems, because I was fighting so hard against the tension or the grip on the Lucca needles. So I'm gonna be honest, I haven't really been grabbing for them very often. Not to say that I won't ever. I'm still gonna keep them, but they're not my number ones anymore. I'm going for the C-knits. I was influenced on these. So talking about popular things, I was definitely influenced to purchase the C-knits. I did not need a new needle set, but sometimes it's really worthwhile trying because it really has helped me. It really has helped me, I think, to knitting wise. I feel like, not that I'm necessarily faster, but I feel like I am in it for a lot longer, you know, like my wrists don't get, or my fingers don't get tired as easily as they once did. I think I only got through a row. I really don't think I got very far. I only remember, yeah, I just went in the round. So this was fun. Got just a little bit of extra progress on this project. This is definitely a long haul project too. Definitely going to be keeping this one into fall. So I think maybe in the next couple of weeks we'll be talking about fall knitting plans. I got some questions about what I'm going to be making Arthur and what I'm going to be making myself. So I think I will be sharing that in a separate video. I think I could talk about that for a really long time. And there's other, exciting news that I am excited to share. Exciting news I'm excited to share, obviously. Looking forward to it very, very soon. So we will be in touch. See you guys in the next video. Thank you guys so much for clicking on this video and liking and commenting, sharing your opinions. I love to hear them. Maybe subscribe if you want to stick around. I'd love to have you here. Yeah, definitely let me know what you guys think about popular patterns, because I think that they're positive. I think it's a positive thing. I just don't know what stance I'm supposed to have on that. Maybe I wrote the question down wrong. Anyway, thank you, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!